Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. You'll get 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with the welcome offer of 150,000 points, your business can soar to all new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
I mean, it's like the ultimate film for any kind of Pope fan.
Yeah, the Vatican fanatics
what's
out there.
competing against there?
Yeah, I was like, I didn't. What other films go in that category?
Yeah.
But then also, there's this kind of strange Pope buddy movie in there where they eat pizza and have Fanta.
It's
and
like a bromance.
watch football together.
Yeah, the closing credit scene was maybe one of the best. Where they're just like, and they're like the old men from the Muppets. Yeah, like roasting each other. And I was like, I can't believe that this has been made.
about the current Pope, right? Yeah.
Do you think he watched it?
I hope so.
I really hope you did.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher podcast. I'm joined by Honey.
Hi.
Becky.
Hello.
And Helen.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about the 2 popes.
Thank you, as always, to the mighty people for the mighty, mighty tunes. And thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills.
Please do remember to write a review and rate us on Apple Podcasts and anywhere you can do where you listen to the podcast, because it really does help us.
And you can join in the conversation with us on Twitter
At FlixWatcherPod and on Instagram
at Flixwatcher. Hello, film fans. Welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher podcast. Joining us today, we have Honey and Becky. If you would like to say hello to our lovely listeners and tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Do you want to go first, Becky?
I'll go first. I'm Becky Young. I am the founder of Anti Diet Riot Club, and I run it now alongside a woman called Harry Rose. And we are a community and platform that try and dismantle diet culture and inspire people to embrace their bodies as they are without trying to change them or shrink them. And we try and rally against things like fat phobia, body shame. And we host events and workshops. And I love being on podcasts.
So how can someone get onto one of your events?
So I guess the best idea is
And what do you do at your events?
We do loads of different things.
Sure.
We do things like boob printing.
Nice.
Life drawing.
I've been a life model. I just
Honey
have to say that.
for us. So we host those kind of regularly. We also do bigger meetups. And we just recently did our first sort of all-day festival called Anti Diet Riot Fest a few weeks back, where Honey was.
It was amazing.
And so it's all about bringing people together, forming a kind of like IRL community, because there's quite a like burgeoning one online and on blogs and Instagram. And so it was all about bringing that into real life sort of safe spaces. And then we're going to sort of now start doing more regular, smaller sharing circle meetups that kind of are like slimming clubs, but the exact opposite. But they offer that kind of support network. Yeah, they're like support clubs, but for people who want to break out of diet culture rather than people who are deep in it. So we're also going on tour on a bus. So if you're interested, then just follow us on Instagram, because at the moment our website's being redone. So that would be a terrible place to send people.
What Instagram account should they follow?
At Anti Diet Riot Club.
Cool. And who are you?
I am Honey Rose, but it's a very tough act to follow.
No.
I am a body positive activist. I am a writer. I also produce some silly short films. I did a random acts film last year, which was very fun and very chaotic.
Right Place, Wrong Tim, if I believe.
Right Place, Wrong Tim, you're very correct. If you've ever wanted to see Asa Butterfield but multiplied by 10 and killing himself.
Yes.
Fighting himself, maybe more better to say. But yeah,
It's like a proto Black Mirror almost, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Short of Black Mirror.
Only Fools and Horses sitcom kind of goes wrong. And I also am one of the co-founders of the activist collective, the Pink Protest. So we've changed 2 laws in the last 3 years.
So tell us about this.
So we I always shout it out, but I actually wasn't part of it then, unfortunately for them. But they did the free periods protest a couple of years back, and we've it's only just gone through, but we've changed one of the laws on period poverty, which is very exciting. And we worked last year with Nimco Ali to change one of the laws on FGM and get it added to the Children's Act because it wasn't there already, which is very shocking. So yeah, that's what we've done.
Fantastic. You're the one that chose the film today, which is The Two Popes.
I did.
So can you tell us, first of all, why you chose it? And secondly, just a super short, less than 1 minute synopsis.
So the reason I chose it is because one of my best friends texted me going, "Oh my God, we are the two popes." And I was like, well, I got to see this film. And then I actually did text him during it going, you know what, we really are the two popes. So the synopsis of The Two Popes is when the Pope died some years back, they had a competition to get the next best, America's next best Pope. And they voted for a lovely conservative Pope.
German one.
A very dodgy German Pope who's played by Anthony Hopkins in the film. And then basically Anthony Hopkins is like, I was in one of my notes I've got him down as self-care Pope because he doesn't want to be the Pope anymore for various reasons because it kind of all goes wrong for him. So he then calls the liberal Pope who didn't win the competition to come back and he's like, can we level? Can we be friends? Like, can we vibe? And in the end, spoiler, they do.
They vibe.
They vibe big time.
So Helen, what were your thoughts on The Two Popes?
So I saw this very recently, as in last night. I'm still. It's sort of 2 films. I mean, it's like the ultimate film for any kind of Pope fan.
Yeah. The Vatican fanatics
What's
out there.
competing against there?
Yeah, I was like, I didn't. What other films go in that category?
Yeah.
Looking outside when they do all the thing. Oh, I mean, there's so many weird things that when they announce the winner of Pope of the Year, Pope of the competition, they do this thing with weird smoke and like people. There's thousands of people out there to watch the smoke. So
they're like weeping.
Yeah,
big audience for things about the Pope.
Papery.
So that's if you ever wanted to go like behind the scenes of the Pope, then this is it. But then also there's this kind of strange Pope buddy movie in there where they eat pizza and have Fanta.
It's
and
like a bromance.
watch football together.
Yeah, that last scene where the closing credit scene was maybe one of the best. Where they're just like the German v Argentinean final football match. And
Yeah.
And they're like the
final,
old men from the Muppets.
Yeah.
They're like roasting
start
each
the
other.
world off.
And I was like, I can't believe that this has been made.
about the current Pope, right? Yeah.
Do you think he watched it?
So, I hope so.
I really hope he did.
So what are your thoughts, Becky?
I'm not into popes, like, as a whole. I knew about the smoke thing. I think that's like the thing that we see from the public
From the
view,
voting
right?
for the competition.
The X factor of popes. But then it was interesting seeing all the stuff that goes on behind like the weird traditions of the balls in the ball
and the
bowls.
Fancy shoes.
Yeah, the shoes they put out.
It's like
and
a shopping montage.
Yeah, that was I was thinking, did they film that inside the Vatican or was that a set?
I was wondering
I hope
that.
they filled inside them. Well,
That would be amazing.
It'd be
right?
fantastic, wouldn't it?
Because I'm sure, like when they close the doors, it's like I always wonder this in films, like how do they get this?
Yeah, how
this
do they get this
format?
incredible-
Because I thought it would be really top secret or something.
Has anyone here been to the Vatican?
No.
No.
I'm a Jew, so
You're not allowed.
I'd burst into flames.
That'd be quite interesting. I mean, I've never been, but I'd love to go to Jerusalem and see the Wailing Wall and go, that's it.
Yeah.
I'd quite like to see the Vatican and go, yeah, that's the Vatican.
Go see Mecca or something like
exactly.
that. Yeah.
For a laugh.
But I don't know, it looked kind of stunning. And if I was one of those guys and they'd said, why don't you see one of the popes? And as a bonus, you get to hang out inside the Vatican without anyone else there. And you kind of think, I mean, it's a nice touch, isn't it?
That'd be amazing. When they were in what's the place that they were in?
with all the frescoes.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous.
That's not.
At the start, you mean?
No, they're halfway through. They clear the. Is it Sistine Chapel? No, it's not.
Pope is like, if I was a pope, I'd be every day.
Yeah.
And then the old pope's like, yeah, that's what I thought. Sure tits.
But yeah, I really enjoyed their friendship, their relationship. That the kind of subtle build up of that.
Will they, won't they?
What?
No, I said the will they, won't they. Being stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Anthony Hopkins normally, but I didn't think he was sort of the best character from this. I obviously prefer. Honey's called him the woke pope. The woke pope.
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, the woke pope, who I now googled isn't that woke.
No,
no. I've now since googled the popes.
They're not as fun as they've been made out to be.
They've been made out to be like super liberal, and obviously it comes out throughout about their past, or specifically Pope Francis's past.
Woke
Pope's past. Anyway, that I felt like it was sort of interesting. That relational thing was interesting. I wasn't too. The Catholicism and stuff is a bit like, oh God, it's a bit gross, isn't it?
It was kind of interesting, that setup, as there were, like I said, the woke pope versus the Nazi pope. I don't know if
that's what they called him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that was really sad.
Yeah, well,
I know.
Yeah, that was quite sad.
I was going to check out how, because I remember him being called a Nazi pope at some point. So I don't know if it's just because he was German or if he was part of like the Hitler Youth or something.
I think it's just because he was German.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, because it was from like a fellow Spanish speaker. And it
yeah, he's
kind of felt
Argentinian
like,
as well, that guy.
Yeah. When they were watching the other football match and the guy was like, oh, he's a Nazi. And he was like, no, that's really sad. Don't call him that. And then you felt like he was falling in love with him a little bit as a friend.
It was a real romance, though.
Yeah.
I was like, I love this.
I feel quite disappointed if the woke pope isn't as woke as made out to be in the film. Because I was like, yeah, well, I'm glad in some case there's conservative institution being passed on to a liberal one, because we're not seeing that anywhere else in the world at the moment. Well, apart from that in New Zealand.
I think he is liberal.
Yeah.
So he's really fights for like climate justice and talks a lot about like regulating capitalism, from what I'm getting. But in terms of like women being in officials, like homosexuality, like no change there. So, so it's socially, but like structurally, he's all about like, making sure people don't get greedy and like trying to limit businesses and things like that. But that's just what I got from Wikipedia.
Semi-woke pope.
Semi-woke pope.
So the whole thing about him being like kicking back all the red shoes, for example, and all the fancy gowns, is that realistic?
I think he might
did happen.
Yeah. He didn't live in the normal place where they all lived. Like, he like sort of shunned the glory a little bit.
He was like, it's gotten really ridiculous that the Pope is wearing a Prada outfit. Which
was that actually what they were
saying? Said. That's so true.
That's not a direct quote from Pope Francis. But like, that's me embodying him.
Which Pope are you in your friendship?
I was like, I'm woke Pope.
You're woke Pope.
Yeah. I was also laughing to myself thinking of like the Instagram thing, which like, which Pope are you? Like over your head and being like, wow, Pope Francis, amazing.
Is there actually one of those?
No.
I was going to say.
But wouldn't that be amazing?
But outside of these two, who here would know any of the Pope apart from, there's Pope John Paul, but I don't know what he was. Was he the one that died before the first contest that we saw at the start?
Maybe he was like around for a while, right?
Quite alarming seeing him being carried out in the film as well. Really, like skeleton Pope.
Yeah.
Very spooky.
Yeah, and that was real footage. I liked how they used lots of real footage, I'm guessing. And also at the end when they slipped in their little like footage of them coming, like embracing. I can't remember what they were doing.
When they were reunited, that was really moving.
That was really cool.
And the Pope Mobile in the wild.
Pope
so it's good to see the Pope Mobile out on tour.
I like the idea that he was trying to book his own like plane travel.
He couldn't.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know his postcode.
Well, he didn't know his postcode, but it was like, you've got the same name and you live in the Vatican.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, whatever.
Prank call. This is Bart Simpson here.
I have to say the film tonally is all over the place. Like, not in a bad... Like, I did enjoy it, but like, you're kind of like, at one moment it's trying to be incredibly earnest and serious, and then it's like, oh, but now we're watching football, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's so surreal. Like, I kind of couldn't believe it.
And the way that they shot it is really like documentary style.
Yes.
Like everything's like flitting around and it's like zooming in really quickly.
And then suddenly a shot of Anthony Hopkins playing the piano with like silk curtains blowing, and you're like, sorry, did you change directors? Like,
what's happening?
Like,
and there's also like overlay of the films. Like suddenly there's like sort of background B-roll stuff playing over the main scene. It's like, what's going on?
So you kept him flipping back to Pope Francis's background and him like growing up during the kind of coup and stuff in Argentina, which I thought was quite interesting. But also it kind of took you away from the thing that scene the most interesting in the film was like these two guys talking, and like one Pope Francis is just like, I want to leave. This is nonsense to me, and the other Nazi Pope Benedict. Sorry, I should not say that. Pope Benedict was like, no, you can't retire because that means I can't retire, and it becomes like this weird kind of tug of war thing. But also, it's like if I retire, then if I actually retire, then you might be Pope. So just hang on in there, son. And I like that kind of tete-a-tete and conversation I had. I love the pizza scene with Fanta. It made me want to eat pizza and
Oh my God,
Fanta.
maybe want to
when
go
that
to
happened.
Italy bad. I love Rome. I've only been once, but I loved it. And just like popping over the road to get one of those like juicy, like
The ice
Napoli
rollers you can
pizzas.
only get there.
Yeah,
as
just
well.
oh God, it's
So
like
good.
really good.
What did you guys make of Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins? Helen?
The Oscar nominated performances. So Price is up for Best Actor,
Right.
and Hopkins is up for supporting.
In this year's Oscars, as we record it, yeah.
Yeah. So the answers may or may not have come out. We don't know yet. Well, they won't have. What does that mean?
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? That's why I'm asking.
So I do like Jonathan Pryce. I thought he kind of brings sort of the human element to it, which I've never really associated much kind of humanness with the popes generally, which was nice. But I don't know. Anthony Hopkins didn't really do it for me. I think when they're talking English, it was really weird. I know they kind of make that thing about, it's exhausting talking English, but it was really bizarre when there was kind of flitting between sort of Latin and then Spanish and then English and then Anthony Hopkins sounding like Anthony Hopkins.
Do you think he sounded that much
German
like him,
Anthony
though?
Hopkins.
No.
I thought it was his best non-Anthony Hopkins accent.
Did you think?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he just
'Cause
sounded a
sometimes-
bit like him. Maybe I've just forgotten what.
Because sometimes
what
he
he
really
sounds
does
like.
not give a shit and just sit, like in what was that film he was in the wilds that we had on, where he had to fight a bear?
Oh, The Edge.
Yeah, The Edge.
Oh, yeah.
So he's supposed to play like an American guy, but it's just like
speaking
Welsh.
in-
Yeah,
It's just Anthony.
Welsh.
he's Welsh, isn't he?
Welsh.
Yeah.
I think he is.
I just
don't think he's
can't
been
get
to
over
Wales
the
for a
Hannibal or Silence of the Lambs. That's all
That's all I see.
In fact, you might be our most reviewed actor because we've had him in Silence of the Lambs, The Edge, now this.
No.
We've had. Well, let's think about this. Well, as we're carrying on. So, what were your thoughts about the two main guys?
I mean, yeah, I don't think Anthony Hopkins did it for me. Their chemistry together worked. I just thought Hopkins was like, come on. He was loving
hammy, isn't
it.
he?
It was hammy and the kind of like squint and the limp. And it was like, you could not be making more of a meal of this. Sorry, tell us how you really feel. But,
Yeah.
No, no.
I don't. When I saw the clip at the end of the two actual popes, and the other one was really old, I kind of got it a little bit more because I guess he was trying to embody the like sort of really aged, like I don't know how it's like sort of stuffy,
demeanor.
so stiff.
Yeah.
Like when he walked like a sort of penguin away, and you could like see a shadow. But
Guys, I know this is a visual, this is an audio medium, but if you can,
could you see me now?
your visual, you doing that was amazing.
There's a lot of scenes of him just sort of like walking into the shadows, and he's like got a
Star
strange.
Warsy, isn't it?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
actually
very,
quite
very.
Darth Vader. But I liked the scene where they first go into like the drawing room. I'm just being Downton Abbey then, but like that's what I see it as, the TV and stuff. And then he's contemplating his like faith and thinking about God's voice. And I like that element of the plot.
Yeah.
Them questioning their spirituality and, wondering how they got, like, how do you get to being Pope? Do you know what I mean?
Well, like Helen said, yeah.
It's such a weird weird life choice for me. So I'm imagining that they do question and doubt, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was a good scene, and when he gets really angry as well about the fact that he like prays to God, he believes in God, but God doesn't reply.
Yeah, that was quite brutal.
Yeah,
I think it was quite interesting seeing Pope Francis. We saw more of Pope Francis' background as to him like just suddenly like he helped to build a church, and then he's like, well, I'm going to be in a priesthood, and then I'm going to get married, but oh shit, now I've got this sign from God. I need to stay in the popehood.
That was such a rubbish sign from God. Sorry, that was just like that was like just some priest. Also, yeah, but that is true. Apparently, he walked past the church and got inspired by the priest, and that's what made him go
So
into
what
it.
else did you find out? Because that's one thing I didn't like look back into to find out how much of it was true or not.
So I don't think the love story was true.
Love story, okay.
I think
I thought you like Pope Benedict and Francis.
No. His Francis's love story with the woman.
Oh.
Yeah.
So apparently he's mentioned that he was interested in a woman, but I don't think the fact that it was like choosing between priesthood and this like marriage, at least that didn't come
Not that
up
kind
with.
of Fleabag element.
Oh my God, yes. The original hot
That's
priest.
the prequel.
But I think the kind of, I don't know, I didn't actually look into whether the whole plot was, I didn't get that far. There's a lot of stuff on Wikipedia about Pope Francis, but about the fact that was he invited in as a kind of like, hey, you'll be my successor, because I've got to, I know that he stepped down,
If not,
obviously.
it would be weird
Yeah,
that
that
this film exists.
Yeah, they've made it out complete thin air.
Pulled it out of thin air. Yeah, that would be really strange.
I have a lot of doubts as to whether a lot of this kind of actually happened or whether it happened in the way that it's portrayed.
It's Pope propaganda a little bit, isn't it? It's like, love the popes.
Yeah.
Well, by the end, I was like, Pope,
Yeah,
Pope,
yeah.
Pope. And then I was like, actually, hang on.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole sort of, there's like the one line of child abuse. It's kind of like, oh yeah, we acknowledge it's happened, and we
And that was
just kind of
and that
was literally
glossed
a note I
over
made.
it,
Faded out, wasn't
and
it?
like
Yeah,
now
they blanked it out.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that.
and now it's all groovy because we've kind of acknowledged it, and and it's just a bit like.
The fact that when he, like, for the first time he starts going and admitting, because I guess you can't put on I don't know if you could do this in a movie, but Anthony Hopkins was talking about how he knew about all these abuses from village to village to village to village, and they blank it out like he's having some sort of like tinnitus episode, and I was like, what? That's like the most important part of why he's stepping down and all the scandal around his.
Do you think that was supposed to be like Pope Francis' tinnitus, and his mind's been fully blown
It's
as
the
to
Catholic
like?
Church and how they deal with it.
No, I mean the tinnitus one, almost to represent his like, holy shit! So you actually knew, dude, and you weren't doing anything about it, and that's why.
Yeah, I guess he was like freaking out, and that was the way of portraying
it in
it. Or
some
they
way.
didn't want to like slander the previous pope.
It seemed a bit like a cop-out.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't tell if it was a stylistic cop-out or not, but it was definitely a cop-out.
This was directed by the guy who did City of God
Oh,
and The Constant Gardener, if you've seen that,
That explains the cinematography.
frenetic
yeah.
and the documentary kind of style
Yeah,
of
that
things.
explains it, because I was like, kind of, yeah.
The bit where Anthony Hopkins goes into the crowd and they're taking all the selfies with him, and it's like weird like selfies where it's like the corner of his ear. And I was like, this is a very interesting choice he's made.
Yeah, again, I wanted to see if there's any real versions of that. Did you have a look at?
I didn't have a look,
No.
but I kind of looked at the pictures and I went, oh, this would have been cool if they were actually people's phone photos.
Yeah.
So then I was like, maybe this didn't happen. Maybe they made this.
Because sometimes in films where they are using people impersonating a real person, if they do have like the shot of the real person, they put them in there, like with a Pablo Escobar TV series, Narcos.
They'd use the actual
photo
photos
of Pablo
them,
and stuff like that instead of like the mock-up, the fake Pablo. So that's kind of suggests it was fake in my mind.
Yeah, that kind of would have, if they'd used those, that would have made me feel a little bit more towards Anthony Hopkins' character, because I didn't see the similarity, because I just don't know much about the Pope, so I didn't. But there was actually a bit of similarity in their like elderliness.
Hello, I'm Sam Pay.
And I'm Martin Zoltz-Orstwick.
And we are the two hosts of a podcast called Song by Song, where we listen every week to a track by the musical artist Tom Waits. You might know him for his gravelly voice, very nice, his appearance in films, but also his multi-decade spanning career involving blues, jazz, and all sorts of other kinds of experimental music.
So we're basically like a book club for Tom Waits. And if that sounds like your cup of tea, you can find us at songbysongpodcast.com or wherever you get podcasts.
Should we head to the scores?
Yeah, let's go to the spreadsheet of dreams.
Ooh.
Well,
Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. The app is simple. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks Daily Fantasy Sports app today and use code FIELD and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code FIELD on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
welcome to, hold your excitement, the Flixwatcher scoreboard. All of our scores are out of 5. You may have decimal places if you wish.
Okay,
and we'll start off with you, Honey, with the recommendability, please.
I'm going to say 3. I'm going to say 3 on the recommendability, I think.
Why do you think?
Because I wouldn't recommend it to my younger friends, but I would recommend it to my older friends.
Right.
Like I would recommend it to like my parents.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't recommend it to like someone who was 22.
So if basically someone who knew what a Pope competition was, you'd say, if you want to get some insight into Pope competition, watch this film.
If I'd been having a conversation with someone about popes, and I would then go, hey, boy, have I got a film for you? But that hasn't happened to me recently. So, but I would, if my thing is, if someone would be like, please recommend me a good film to watch, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't put this in there.
wouldn't be at the top of my list. But if it was maybe my grandpa or my parents, yes.
Yeah.
So there's a TV series called The New Popes with Jude Law as a Pope. I don't understand that either.
Popes are having a comeback.
back.
It's supposed to be quite
Yeah, it's
launching,
having a big
but I still,
I've seen that. I actually kind of thought this was it.
right.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping.
You were like,
Yeah. I kind of thought, because I think I'd seen the adverts for that, and then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's going to be saucy. Okay, not so saucy.
I was like, this film is not saucy. No.
when does it kick in, guys?
This is
Where's Jude
pizza
Law?
sauce.
It's pizza saucy.
Yeah.
So, that's a good one.
Becky, recommendability.
I would say 3.5. I think, again, generationally. Also, people who are into Oscar films, this is a good one. Also, I'm heading to, this is kind of unrelated, but if someone was heading to Argentina, I'm going to Brazil, so it's not related. But if someone's going to Argentina, I quite like that little history bit about the coup and it was kind of traumatic things that happened in the priesthood.
Yeah,
Like
lots of
Argentina
people
and
would
Chile seem to
disappear.
have some proper dark times there. Also,
Which
Brazil did in the
I didn't
60s
know
and
about,
stuff.
so I thought that was quite interesting.
If you want some Brazil tips, I can give you some afterwards.
Nice.
Helen.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm the audience for this film at all.
We're not Pope interested. Do you remember when Pope Benedict was elected?
No, not really. I don't know.
Don't follow popes?
No, not.
Was it in the 90s?
It's
It's in the
2005, wasn't it?
2000s.
Oh, 2000s, okay.
Yeah, because it was like the first time in anyone's life, so I was kind of interested. But
Oh, of course, he was,
Okay.
because the other one was there my entire life before that. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
So it was like,
So it was a pretty big deal then.
so it was like, oh, this is the first Pope in a generation.
Yeah.
So that's why it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting. But I was just like, it's like a news thing. So anytime anything happened, it's like, oh, it's black smoke. Okay. Oh, it's black smoke again. Oh, it's black smoke. That's all I kind of
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Like Lost.
like lost.
Yeah, I mean it's bloody long as well.
It really is.
I fell asleep twice, so I've had to watch this movie like to
Recommendability
start
score.
again. I fell asleep today watching it.
So interestingly, the most interesting thing that I found about this is that Bryce Dessner did the music for it.
Tell us who Bryce Dessner is.
He's in the band The National.
Okay.
I think he may have done some other music
Wow.
before, so he did the score for it,
Curveball.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess if you're a fan of his, then you should check this out.
I don't know who you would think would put this kind of film together, but I wouldn't have thought the guy who directed City of God and
Yeah.
you don't think these people are involved in this kind of film because it's still, I think it's kind of worthy that it exists, but I would have thought, I don't know, Clint Eastwood.
I mean,
done this kind of film.
he's the first Latin American pope, the first
Yeah.
non-European pope since the 8th century. So
Yeah.
maybe there's that
Big
interest.
story, yeah.
I mean, he said he was like a divisive figure from Argentina. Maybe if you've grown up in South America, you're really into it.
Yeah, and also I really am skeptical about how much of sort of the bonding went on and how much is kind of like fabricated or like stitched together in a way that makes it more
But does that get in
endearing.
the way? Does that get in the way of of a based on a true story film for you? Because it's you know, you have the film, and I asked about this in the, I guess in the notes. I was like, biopic versus documentary. What would you rather have if you had the choice of both?
I don't know. It's an interesting one. I don't mind it when things are slightly played around with slightly in the timeline, or like, for example, I think in Pride there's like a couple of characters that are maybe brought together to make
amalgamated,
one. And so I kind of accept that when it's not pitched as being kind
so
of
what about
events.
Bohemian Rhapsody versus Rocket Man then?
So Rocket Man is a much better film.
What is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I need to watch that.
No spoilers or anything, but I thought it was.
Sure.
And, the problem with Bohemian Rhapsody is that Brian May is still alive. So until Brian May has like got his claws out of it, then the kind of the real stuff will never happen, because it's still a product that he really wants to sell.
Yeah.
And it's profitable, and you know, he's got to keep it, you know, the best Queen it can be. But with this, I think the thing that got me the most is just the whole
The best Queen it can be.
glossing over the child abuse. And I think it would have maybe been a bit more of a real film had they actually
Gone into
that a little bit. Whereas this is kind of like a really, really strange buddy movie with two really old dudes. So I don't know. I'm gonna go 2.5. I guess it's a curiosity piece. If you've got kind of like an interest in, you know, what might have gone on, then yeah. But I don't know. Because it says obviously it's based on true events, you're like, oh, this is great. The Pope's like hanging out and talking about being liberal and stuff. But then it's like, how true is that though? And I kind of feel as though maybe they're trying to protect themselves a bit much. So I'm not trusting on it being based on true events. Whereas if it had been kind of more like a fictional version rather than this based on true events they're doing, then I might have taken it a bit more as the buddy thing rather than them trying to tell something slightly historical.
I'm going to go for 3.75 here.
Oh, wow. Very precise.
I enjoyed this. But I think it's a bit of a curiosity piece. As I think that's a kind of a nice way to put it. I think the main thing that's kind of spurred me to watch it was the fact that they're both Oscar nominated. And I do kind of like that. I do like films where it's more conversation based, and these guys were presented as an odd couple who happen to both be popes. And it kind of puts into like a weird, like, I mean, I'll watch this at some point, but when would that happen? So again, this is kind of the selfish thing about having this podcast, that people just say, well, you're going to watch this now because I've chosen this.
No choice.
That's a dream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Based on a true story thing, I'm a lot more lenient, I guess, than yourself in how, as long as the story is told.
Whispered into the mic.
Because if you look at the Bohemian Rhapsody versus Rocket Man, Bohemian Rhapsody is more linearly is a more true telling story of Queen, but there's so many different changes where you're just like, well, why did they even change that? Because it makes no sense as to why Freddie Mercury told him he had AIDS just before going on stage at Live Aid. It's like, why is that? Why have you changed that? It makes no sense in
But
the
Bohemian
whole
Rhapsody
story.
isn't about Freddie though; it's about Queen, we'll say.
No, but that's the point though. That's part of the point. Is like, it makes no sense as to why they've done that. But Rocket Man is just like about Elton John's life, but it's not in any kind of, so that's like a dramatization, but the songs aren't there.
It's more like a musical.
Yeah, it's more like a musical telling the story of his life, which doesn't really kind of fall into place apart from the fact that you got him and you got Bernard Taupin and they wrote songs, and some of the songs were fucking awesome. And you kind of just like, well, this is fine. And it doesn't make any sense. But I think when you try and toe the line of like being real and it's just not, that's when it kind of is irritating.
The magic disappears and you start questioning it a bit more.
Repeat viewing score. How many times are we going to watch this again? Well, so on a scale of 1 to 5, how often are you going to watch this film again?
Can you make a number out of this weird question?
I'm going to say I'm probably never going to watch this film again. Maybe if...
Zero.
So 0. So perhaps 1 if I'm being generous.
Sure.
But
is that like
most likely 0.
If you're at your parents' house and they're like, hang around, honey, should we put a film? I don't really want to watch the two popes.
I'd book my Uber and I'd head on home.
Okay. I'll just get my coat.
Ooh, I'd say 1 again as well, because I did fall asleep twice. Well,
So you haven't really seen it.
I have. I just had to keep going back, and
So you've already seen it like
I feel like I've already now
1+
seen
times.
it 3 times.
Sure.
And Yeah, probably just one. I think it would take a lot for me to recommend. Maybe like in a while, like with my dad or something, if he hadn't seen it.
Sure.
But yeah, not anytime soon.
Helen?
Yeah, this isn't going to be a high-scoring one for me. If someone said to me, do you want to sit down and watch The Two Popes? It would be no.
Yeah.
I struggled to make it through. Yeah. I don't think I fell asleep, but you know when you have that slightly...
You've glazed over.
There's a little bit of that. I don't know. It's not a film for me. So a 0 for repeat.
Can I just say that I watched it first before I knew I was coming on here, the first time I fell asleep. And I was watching it with my housemate and her boyfriend and a friend, and they absolutely loved it. Like, I woke up, they were like, you just missed a great film. So maybe we're just not the right audience for it.
And also, I should ask, so...
But will they watch it again, though?
I mean, they did watch it today with me, so no.
Another thing was, I kept watching it, and particularly when I was having like the little sneezy bit, I was like, have I missed the bit where they watch the football? Oh, where's the football thing?
Oh, so you knew about the football thing?
You knew about that coming?
Yeah, because I'd seen it on clips and everything, and it's at the bloody end.
Yeah.
That's how they get you.
Get
with the trailers.
It's like the Marvel after credits. Find out which the next Pope film will be.
I'm going to go for 1 as well. It was fine. Enjoyed it. But when I watch it again, I don't know. So, small screen score. Honey, do you guys want an explanation of these scores?
I would love that, please.
So, small screen score. So, a film with a high small screen score is something that actually works well on Netflix or on your TV screen. Right. Whereas, like, a low small screen score would be like an amazing blockbuster film where you think, I need to see this in the cinema because it will not be good. It will not do justice anyway, otherwise.
I really felt like this film belonged on Netflix.
Sure.
You know, it of course is made for that purpose, and you would be missing nothing. Yeah. But it's like seeing it. I'm not like, God, I got to see Two Popes at the IMAX. Like I'm good. So probably, it's made for it. 5.
Yeah, 5. I agree. I think like there are maybe scenes where it'd be cool to see on a bigger screen, like the ones that are flashbacks, the memory style ones, and the ones at the beginning where they're doing all the grand Vatican City scenes. But yeah, other than that, like, it's totally perfect. Just watch on your phone.
Helen?
Yeah, so 5. It's was it one of those Netflix ones where they kind of, it's one of theirs and they kind of put it out in the cinema a week so they could get Oscar noms?
Obviously, they've gotten the Oscar noms, so it's been in the cinemas.
It's a really interesting piece for them to think, let's make a film about the two popes. Are we hip with the kids? I don't know. It's really bizarre. Yeah, so it feels very much like it was made for Netflix.
I'm going to go, 5 again. And one of the reasons I pointed out is Fernando Meirelles did City of God, because we had City of God in here. So guys, go back and listen to City of God if you want another review of one of his films.
Amazing.
One of my favorite films. But we scored it quite lowly here because the small screen score is so low, and we were just like, we need to see this in the cinema. And it's such a shame that his visual style hasn't kind of come through in this one.
It was mostly two old guys talking though.
Yeah, but still he can have with guns and like abseiling down.
Yeah. I mean, like, there were the flashback moments where some of them were like, there were lots of flashbacks of the black and white bits where he's like doing the tango and things like that. I feel like that's the same director, and it's a bit jolty. It made me feel a bit unsteady. I feel like if I saw it at a bigger screen, I'd get a bit seasick or something.
It kind of just felt like it didn't belong in the film. It was like two films glued together.
Yeah, 3 films, because it's got the like history, the Vatican Pope stuff, and then the bromance. It's weird.
Engagement score, honey.
How engaged?
How engaged were you? Were you like, did you feel at any point, if you felt at any point you wanted to check your phone, or just if it took you like multiple sittings, then you're probably quite low engagement.
I'm gonna be honest, halfway through the film I paused it and rearranged my furniture and moved a lamp into a different room. So I think maybe a fairly low engagement, and I'm actually quite committed to watching films usually, so that's a bad sign. Maybe a 2.5.
Becky?
I mean, I fell asleep twice, but I'm also like a giant baby, so I can fall asleep pretty easily. Like, my heating was on, it was like, it
was nice
late.
and cozy.
Yeah, exactly. I would say 3.5, because I do like the actors. I was quite gripped. The second half was definitely more engaging than the first half, I thought.
Okay.
Yeah. Once it got to like the story of Pope Francis and his kind of like transgressions. After you sort of realised that Anthony Hopkins was kind of like this big weirdo who didn't know who like the Beatles were and like things like that.
I mean, things like that, he's kind of, oh, dude.
Yeah, it was like, what's going on here? I kind of was a bit more
He would have been alive when
intrigued.
John Lennon was shot. Would have not penetrated.
It was so weird. I just didn't get his like, where you have not lived in this world. And I liked that the other guy really had. And so I was a bit more engaged after that bit.
So what's your engagement score?
3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
Helen?
Yeah, 2.5, I think. I watched this in 2 sittings. I was travelling, so I had half on the train was when I had the little snooze fest, and then the other half I'd been away.
Got the motion of the train sometimes as well.
Yeah, and it was warm.
Big baby.
And,
Big baby on a train.
Yeah.
and then the second half, the cat kind of got in the way a bit. So, yeah, 2.5.
The cat in the film?
No, my
Or
cat.
your cat?
Yeah.
I was like, what cat? My nickname for Anthony Hopkins.
The cat.
My cat. I'm gonna go for 4.1.
Wow.
Did you watch it the whole way through?
I watched it the whole way
You're the only
through.
one who
I think it
did.
was the whole way through.
Congratulations, you are the next great Pope.
Didn't do any ironing. Didn't do my taxes. Just sat all the way through. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I think the thing that takes it down a few pegs. I actually didn't like, as I said, the Pope Francis bits when they kept on going back to Argentina. That kind of took me out of the chat, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Pryce speaking different languages, because I was thinking as an actor, well, that's clearly not what they did. I think they did a really good job of certainly Jonathan Pryce's Spanish. I thought was like pretty on point.
Convincing.
Did he speak
Yeah.
Spanish at all?
Do I?
Jonathan Pryce. I saw his younger character speaking Spanish.
No, he did. Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, he did speak Spanish. And a bit of Italian.
A bit of Italian.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins' Italian was pretty slow, I thought.
It wasn't
Yeah.
the best. But as a German, and this is what I kind of find interesting about these guys, is that they
speak
have
multiple languages,
yeah, exactly, have all these different languages.
And Latin.
And Latin. Some 20%
Yeah.
speak Latin. I thought it was quite funny.
He likes to speak Latin when he has to tell them like some
Some
bad
important
news.
stuff. Yeah. Like, hey, by the way, I'm not going to be
retiring,
here
yeah.
anymore.
They were all like us when that scene was happening, and all the popes were like, all the bishops were like falling asleep. And I was like, relate to that.
One of
And then
them's
he suddenly says, obviously announces his like stepping down, and they're like, wait, what? What?
Say that?
Quad? I don't know what is in Latin shit.
It's probably that.
It's interesting you were saying how the kind of bits from the past were really disorientating, because that's kind of generally what a lot of reviews of this have said, that it's really jarring and it doesn't quite fit, and it makes it kind of a very, very strange movie. So it is a bit of a straight. It is on one hand this kind of weird trying to tell this kind of bustly backstory in Argentina, and then the other hand it is just two old blokes, odd couple kind of thing.
But I like the odd couple stuff.
Yeah, so maybe it would have been a different film without trying to add too much to the backstory, because you did kind of get through the way that Jonathan Pryce was sort of telling his story, that he kind of portrayed that emotion and that conflict, I think, well enough without it having to maybe be enacted out.
Show it. Like,
That was a sneeze. I was like, curve it. Sorry, guys.
Maybe what if they'd shown Pope Benedict's backstory? Why didn't they show his?
well, this is part of the problem as well. Because
Yeah,
I think
two
we've got
popes,
enough,
but you only get to know about
one of them properly. Yeah, I think you got enough of this. I think we got
Maybe you were
enough of their
expected
backstory.
to know more. I don't know.
I don't know.
It kind of felt like a toss of the coin in which Pope got their story told. It kind of, to me, felt rather trivial.
One of them was clearly more interesting. The German Pope was like, all I did was read books and study, and it's like, I live no life.
I eat by myself. I don't know who the Beatles are.
Yeah.
Well, you're
Admitting.
fun. You must be fun at
Eleanor Rigby,
parties.
who's she?
Yeah, I was like almost banging my head against
Yeah.
it. You know, I mean, Eleanor Rigby's a bit abstract, but he said Yellow Submarine, and whether you like the Beatles or not, you know Yellow Submarine.
oh, that's silly. When he told the joke, but he was like, oh, that's a joke, a silly joke. It's like, God, he was so rubbery. He just didn't know what life was. Telling that joke about the two smoking.
Yeah, I didn't get the joke. I don't find it funny.
It was a really shit joke.
Yeah.
So that gives us an overall score of 3.0 to 188.
I think that's bumped up by the small screen score.
The small screen score has elevated
Fives
it.
across the board. I don't think anything's ever had like a small screen score like that.
No. Even When Harry Met Sally's got, which is the highest rated film at the moment.
That's your highest rated film?
Yeah, on Flixwatcher, yeah.
Wow.
It's a great film.
Super recommendable. You watch it all the time and you're happy watching it at home and it's super engaging.
90 minutes as well.
Yeah. I just have to disagree. But anyway, I'm going to go listen to the episode, yeah.
And see what other people thought. Well, if you want to listen alongside Becky, you can go scroll back in the feed and listen to When Harry Met Sally. So we always reach out to people on Twitter before we record, and in this case we did, and we always say something like, we're reviewing The Two Popes with Becky from Anti Diet Riot and Honey from Pink Protest. Have you seen it? Give us your thoughts for an on-air shout out on Flixwatcher, and give us a retweet. And we had one message from these guys. Honey, would you mind reading out the tweet?
This one?
Indeed.
Religion is something I'm not even remotely interested in, but this screenplay and these dual performances made it work. Bravo.
Bravo. Oh, is that 3.5 stars?
I guess that's 3.5 stars.
3.5 stars?
Yeah.
So it kind of tallies with some of the stuff we were saying.
That's almost exactly what we gave it. I mean, I think that that kind of sits alongside how I feel about this. If you're into religion, if you are Catholic, this is probably a really good film for you.
Yeah, I think if you're Catholic, this is a definite.
Yeah.
But I think if you're not Catholic, don't discredit it if you're not.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And like maybe if you're into like pomp and grandeur as well, but it works even if you're not. A little bit.
Can you guys sign off by telling everyone who's listening where they can find you again?
You can find me on Anti Diet Riot Club on Twitter and Instagram. Well, it's actually Anti Diet Riot on Twitter, or follow me personally, sloppy_spice.
And do follow you, obviously, to join the events and find out where your bus is.
Yeah, I mean, we've got like a newsletter and stuff, so that's a good thing to sign up to.
And you can find me on Instagram at honeykinney, or you can follow the Pink Protest at Pink Protest.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes, and Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Ben, and that's Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.